everybody. Thank you so much for coming today. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. I know it's hectic with parents and kids and the holidays. So first, I guess what we could do is start off just talking about who my audience is, who's here today, and a little bit about yourself. You want to start?
Sure, I'll start. My name is Agnes Pratt. I'm 65 years old. I have 5 children and 7 grandchildren. And I have had diabetes since 1985. And it is a disease that is first it's very hard to believe you have it and to believe that you can't do without your tablets or your insulin. And then what is most important is very good eating habits. And from time to time, I need to be updated on good eating patterns, and so I'm here today to learn some things about healthy eating habits.
That's good. I'm glad. I'm hoping that we can actually educate you today and learn some new things, maybe.
Yes.
How about you?
Well, hello, my name is Tracy. I'm a single mother of 1, and I'm afraid that maybe I'm not choosing enough healthy eating habits for my son, because I work a lot, and I just want to make sure that he's eating properly while I'm gone, or he's at the sitters or at the grandma's house, and I just want to make sure that he stays on the right track.
Okay. Well, Tracy, I hope to answer some of those questions and give you some good ideas today on how we can make some changes. How about you?
Well, my name is Edward. I'm a father of 3, and type 2 diabetes is running my family, and I just want to be sure that I'm making the correct choices for my kids.
Well, good. Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and get started with talking about it. This is a little bit of an informational, educational thing, and also kind of where we got to, how we get this way, how we got this way, how it started. And with that, did you know that 1 out of every 5 child is obese? It's overweight or obese. It is definitely our new health hazard that we had like in the 70s with smoking. It is definitely an epidemic that causes many diseases. When you have diabetes, when you have obesity, your risks are high cholesterol with a hardening of your arteries, with so much fat in our diet now. And remember, these are children. These are children that are at risk of this, and we're already seeing this in all the data with the high cholesterol, which leads to high blood pressure. High blood pressure then leads to your early heart disease. And with that is diabetes, the one that we've all, I guess, have had some issues with talking about. I know that in doing this research, I found that 1 in 3 children born after the year 2000 will be diagnosed with diabetes. So that is very alarming. And with the diabetes, you have bone problems from the osteoporosis coming from the lack of vitamin D. Sugar and fat is taking over some of our nutrients in our food, and then from that we're getting bone problems already in our children. Skin conditions such as heat rash and fungal infections, acne, those are all part that it's almost like the food and the fillers that are in our food are coming out in our skin with rashes, and just it's our body's way of saying, look, something's not right. And with that, you ask, what are you putting in your body? How did we get this way? How did this obesity epidemic happen? And I'll tell you one thing that I found is the industrialization of our food products with processed corn. I'm going to play this video of Food Inc. And I actually found this online. It's about an hour-long video, so for the sake of time, if you don't mind, I'm going to browse through to the time that where we really want to talk about this video. Scan up here for just a second and show you something that hit the nail on the head for me.
In the United States today, 30% of our land base is being planted to corn. That's largely driven by government policy that, in effect, allows us to produce corn below the cost of production. The truth of the matter is we're paid to overproduce, and it was caused by these large multinational interests. The reason our government's promoting corn is the Cargills, the ADMs, Tyson, Smithfield, they have an interest in purchasing corn below cost of production. They use that interest and that extensive amount of money they have to lobby Congress to give us the kind of farm bills we now have.
The Farm Bill, which should really be called a food bill, codifies the rules of the entire food economy. Farm policy is always focused on these commodity crops because you can store them. We encourage farmers to grow as much corn as they can grow, to get big, to consolidate. We subsidize the farmers by the bushel.
We produced a lot of corn, and they came up with uses for it.
We are now engineering our foods. We know where to turn to for certain traits like mouthfeel and then flavors, and we bring all of these pieces together, engineer new foods that don't stale in the refrigerator, don't develop rancidity. Of course, the biggest advance in recent years was high fructose corn syrup. You know, I would venture to guess, if you go and look on the supermarket shelf, I'll bet you 90% of them would contain either a corn or soybean ingredient. And most of the time they'll contain both.
Corn is a great raw material. You get that big, fat kernel of starch. And you can break that down and reassemble it, and you can make high fructose corn syrup, and you can make maltodextrin and diglycerides and xanthan gum and ascorbic acid, all those obscure ingredients on the processed food. It's remarkable how many of them can be made from corn. Plus, you can feed it to animals.
Corn is the main component in feed ingredients, whether it's chicken, hogs, cattle, you name it.
Increasingly, we're feeding the corn to the fish, whether we're eating the tilapia or the farm salmon. We're teaching fish how to eat corn. The fact that we had so much cheap corn really allowed us to drive down the price of meat. I mean, the average American is eating over 200 pounds of meat per person per year, and that wouldn't be possible had we not fed them this diet of cheap grain.
That just shows you a little bit about how we got to this obesity epidemic. Next thing I would say is sugary sodas and sport drinks. Drinking 1 or 2 sugary drinks a day, it raises your risk of type 2 diabetes by 26%. I don't know if you guys have heard the new thing in New York with Mayor Bloomberg. He's trying to pass the bill with supersized sodas, and no longer supersized sodas because there's so much in one soda. That's probably 3 to 4 serving sizes, and you're having many of those a day. So this is just a funny little, not funny, it's alarming, but it's definitely a scare tactic that New York has done in some of their ads.
Does this sound familiar? You grab a mid-morning soda, a sweetened tea at lunch, a frozen coffee drink in the afternoon, and a couple of sodas at dinner. Seems harmless enough. But that many sugary drinks a day can add up to a lot of extra sugar. And all that sugar can bring on serious health problems, including obesity, which causes type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and even some cancers. So don't drink yourself sick. Go with water, seltzer, fat-free milk, or unsweetened teas instead.
That's pretty scary. It's pretty scary to think about how much sugar we put in our body. And it says the #1 source of added sugar, and they have traced it back to when we put in vending machines in all of our schools, and now they've since taken them out. But you know what they've added them with? Gatorades, sports drinks, sugary juices. They've even put our waters that are just the basic generic water, and now putting a sugared, fruity substance in it that's sugar. And it goes back to, it's just a vicious cycle of this sugar. It's being subsidized by the government, and then it's fed into all of our foods and everything we find. So it's pretty scary, and I would say that you know, now we know this, now what do you do? It kind of leaves you with, okay, so now what can we do? I would say plan your meals ahead of time. Really try to not have prepackaged things that have all the sodium and the sugar put in them. The closest thing that you can do to a raw vegetable, raw diet that comes without any of the chemicals is going to be better for you at any time. Replace unhealthy ingredients, if just a little bit at a time. You know, start small, and instead of drastically cutting things out. I know I did this with my family. I replaced ground turkey meat in my spaghettis and my pastas with turkey. I replaced the ground beef with the turkey. Another thing is I was really bad about making peanut butter sandwiches every day. And now they're saying that really, in reality, one peanut butter sandwich a week is about how much sugar, because you have to allow for all the other sugar that's in all of the diet on a daily basis. So, and then serve yourself smaller portions. Slow down when you eat. And lastly, read your food labels. I think we learned from our videos we saw a minute ago of some of the things that are put in our foods that are hidden in there. They're secret. And so always look at the ingredients down at the bottom. You'll see, you can look and see what some of those are. And they try to change up the word so that it doesn't look like high fructose corn syrup anymore. But I think that was pretty interesting to see all the different terms that come from corn that are not high fructose corn syrup on the ingredient list, but it's the xanthan gum, the maltodextrin, or I can't even pronounce them. That's sad, but you can't even pronounce them and they're in your foods. But learn how to read the labels and teach your kids how to read the labels. With the nutrition facts at the top, and you see the serving size. For instance, one soda that you get normally at the convenience store, that's the water bottle size, the 12-ounce size, that's 2.5 servings. If you look at the back of it, it's 2.5 servings of soda. And so serving sizes have a lot to do with it, and that gets back to serve yourself smaller portions, so be aware of that. And then also your trans fat, your cholesterol, and sodium. They're saying that most of our foods to be kept on the shelves are added and pumped in with all this sodium and preservatives. And so to counteract from the bitterness of the salt and the preservative, they add more sugar. And that's really where it all started, was how can we make this accessible, easy, on the go, and then how can we make it taste good? So definitely read your labels. Cooking natural rather than prepackaged. I just pulled this off the internet just to kind of show some examples of how quick and easy and not much of any kind of an inconvenience it is, because mostly, if you look at the ingredients on the homemade from scratch Alfredo sauce compared to your prepackaged Alfredo sauce, you see the price per serving is definitely cheaper to make it from home, and normally that's the case. It's always going to be cheaper than a prepackaged something because of the convenience. But most people in their homes with children, you'll have, and let me ask you, do you have Parmesan cheese in your house? Do you have butter? You know, most people have butter and Parmesan cheese, because if you have kids, you probably are going to want to put Parmesan cheese on any kind of pasta you're serving them. So the only thing I really found that I didn't have on hand, and it can come in a can, is the evaporated skim milk. So you can keep that in your refrigerator, and it cuts down on your fat, and then you're able to make your homemade sauces. So that's just one example of something that you can make a change really quickly, and look at the difference in sodium. 826 milligrams compared to 455 milligrams. That quickly, you can make that much of a difference. So, next thing is, it's kind of a fun little quiz I've got. Did you know, to see how we're going to do with these different, on food labels, the amount of sugar is listed in grams. What do you think 1 gram of sugar is? What's 1 gram of sugar worth? How many teaspoons? What do you think?
Actually, I have no idea.
You have no idea. What about you, Tracy?
I would say 3.
3 teaspoons.